Hey everybody, this is Anthony from VR Game Rankings. Welcome to episode 9 of our daily vlog for Thursday, October 12th, 2017. And let me tell you, we have crazy amounts of stuff to talk about today. Oculus Connect 4 was, of course, yesterday. And if you remember on yesterday's show, I was trying to wrap it up so that I could jump into Oculus Connect 4 and actually try it on the Oculus Rift headset, because there was an app that you could download from the Oculus store that would allow you to view Oculus Connect 4 in the headset and get this virtual reality experience, see Mark Zuckerberg and see is it Hugo Berra? I think it's Hugo Berra or something like that. You see these guys on stage, you see them walking around. Now, I'll just say real briefly that I don't think we're there yet for this type of technology. I don't think the headset resolution is high enough. I don't think the capture cameras that we're using are of a quality, or just the streaming and everything. It's just not there. I watched most of the whole show with the headset on, but honestly, I probably would have been better off just watching a regular normal stream. That was probably a bad idea, but I just wanted to check it out, see how it was, and it was a curiosity kind of thing, and it wasn't the most horrible thing in the world, so no big deal there. Okay, so we've got a number of topics to talk about today, and most of this stuff is coming from Oculus Connect, Oculus Connect 4, and certainly the biggest bit of news is the price. So the Oculus Rift Touch combination, the price is now back down $399.99. Okay, so my take on this has been the same since the very beginning. You can't lower the price of a hardware item and then raise it back up. That's not going to work, at least not in consumer electronics. Now, maybe if you're in the business world, prices go up and down like that. But from a consumer standpoint, once you lower the price on something, then everybody that's out there, they get this new price in their heads. And then so when you raise that price back up, they're like, wait a minute, wasn't it $399? Oh, well, I'm going to wait. I'll just wait until it's $399 again. That's what people think. That's just the logical thought process that people have. And so I always knew, there was no question in my mind that this price was going to drop back down to $399. Now, I didn't know when they were going to do it. Honestly, I might have thought that they would wait a little bit later, more into the fourth quarter, like say November. But this does make sense. It is October 12th, and this happened on October 11th. You got to remember, October 17th is the arrival of the Microsoft mixed reality headsets. There's going to be so many of them that are going to arrive, and a lot of people are making their purchasing decisions around this type of information. Are they going to want to go for this Samsung mixed reality headset that a lot of people are raving about? Well, here's a monkey wrench that gets thrown into the plans of that sort of thing when you can get the Oculus Rift and Touch package for $100 cheaper than the Samsung package. And so that's what this is all about. This is about getting that price back down into a beautiful sweet spot for Oculus. Remember, there's the Acer package. Acer has a headset for $299, and they have a package that includes the two controllers for $399.99. So had Oculus stuck to their $500 price that they went back up to, they would be $100 more than the Acer package. And I'm sure Oculus didn't really want to do that. So we have the permanent price drop to $399. Now, does this really change anything in a major way? Not really. I mean, remember, this was the big news that came out during the summer when this price drop happened. I remember the day I woke up, I got onto Reddit and I saw, oh my God, $399. That same day, I ended up at a Best Buy store buying my own Oculus Rift. So that's how powerful that was. It was a big announcement that came out. It was huge. It was a major drop. The $399 price is a great price point, especially for this holiday season. Christmas is coming up. People are going to want to buy gifts for their significant others. And VR is a hot commodity. So hopefully more of these Oculus headsets will continue to be sold, and we'll just have more people in the fold. So the $399 price is great. Now, from an HTC Vive standpoint, if you look at this from the other camp, what are they going to do? You know, they were already $100 more than the $500 price that Oculus had. Now they're going to be $200 more. What is this going to do to the overall market? Well, obviously, I think the buy is the Oculus Rift at this point in time until we're proven otherwise. And HTC, you know, they're kind of between a rock and a hard place here. They don't have the Knuckles controllers in their box yet. They don't have the new lighthouses. It's really kind of confusing. I think that I really wouldn't buy an HTC Vive package, especially the current package, when everything in there is kind of old and outdated, and we already know that there's newer versions that are coming out. Now, if you're just an average everyday run-of-the-mill consumer and you're not a VR nut, you might be okay with what the HTC Vive has packed in right now. You might not really need Knuckles or the new controllers, or I mean the new lighthouses, or any of that sort of thing, but still, it's a little sketch. And honestly, I would probably say the Oculus Rift is the best overall deal in VR gaming at this current point in time, especially now that they've dropped back down to that $399 price point. Okay, so the next big news story that came out yesterday is the announcement of Oculus Go. Oculus Go for $199, 200 bucks. Now, this new product is coming out next year. In 2018, you will be able to go buy yourself an Oculus Go. Now, what is an Oculus Go? Well, basically the idea is you got the Gear VR, right, which uses the Samsung phone. Now, what the Oculus Go is, it's like you don't need a phone. It's all here. It's all in one unit. It's all self-contained. So it's going to have a very similar processor to what they have in some of these Samsung phones. It's going to be able to run the same games basically. And what it is you do have a little controller similar to the Gear VR and similar to the Daydream, the three degrees of freedom controller. So you're not going to have these like really impressive experiences that we have with like fully tracked controllers, but you can still view videos. You can still do like something like maybe the Invisible Hours, which is really cool, that I'm playing right now on PlayStation VR. That might be something that you could kind of do with the Oculus Go with that controller, but you're not going to be playing like fast action games and stuff like that. But it's possible that you'll be able to use also some other controller with it for those kinds of games. So we'll have to see how that all works out. But the $199 price, how are they fitting everything in there for $199? I mean, they got a screen in there, they got new lenses. Now, supposedly what they're saying is that when this Oculus Go comes out, it's going to have the best visual quality of any of their headsets, including the Oculus Rift. At least that's kind of the gist that I got it from what they were talking about yesterday. So it kind of appears that improvements have probably been made. They've probably learned a lot in these last couple of years. And what they're going to do here is it's going to be LCD, but it's a fast switching LCD. And the new lenses that they're using are going to dramatically cut down on glare. Remember, we had that story with Valve, and Valve has created these new lenses that are supposedly going to really eliminate stray light, the glare, the annoying God rays and stuff that you get. And so that's going to be baked into this Oculus Go headset for $199. Now, one of the things that we have to say here, though, is does this really make sense for the average user out there? Like, where does the Oculus Go fit in? And I was in one Reddit thread yesterday, and this one guy made a comment, and I thought it was an interesting comment, so I went ahead and copied it here. Benny Factor on Reddit said, "Personally, I've always wanted a Gear VR, but I'm an iPhone guy through and through, and buying a phone specifically for Gear seemed dumb. This is perfect for me. It's cheap mobile VR that'll be great for bringing on trips and showing my coworkers, and I don't have to buy a phone that I don't want. I doubt I'm alone." That's a pretty good take from Benny Factor right there. Yeah, it makes sense. You don't want to, like, I don't want to go buy a big giant Samsung phone just to use for this Gear VR thing. I mean, who really wants to do that? I considered it at certain points. I remember when the Gear VR was first out, I was trying to look at like used Samsung Galaxies that might work in there, where the phone wasn't working right. It had a problem with it, but where it would work perfectly fine for Gear VR. I remember investigating some of that stuff, and it was just so expensive. It just wasn't logical. Like, it just didn't come together. Now, if you already had one of these Samsung phones, that's a whole different ballgame. If that's your phone, then that makes perfect sense. But if it's not your phone, going out of your way to buy one of these Samsung phones so you can experience some of this Gear VR stuff doesn't make sense. But now we have this new option. It's $199. It's going to be out next year, and it is something that we could possibly travel with. It's something that you could show coworkers. It's an easy thing that you can slip on and slip off, and it's very simple, and it should work quite well. And according to Oculus and according to their engineers, it's going to have some of the best image quality of any headset currently available when this thing drops. So it's interesting to see how it will all play out. Honestly, for me personally, I still don't think I'm going to be going down that road, because I've already said it before. I've traveled with my PlayStation VR. I've actually taken my PlayStation VR with me. I went on a trip to Bodega Bay not that long ago, and I took my PlayStation VR with me to Bodega Bay, and the experience that I had in my room with the PSVR on was absolutely identical to the experience that I was having at home in whatever room I was using PlayStation VR there. So my PlayStation VR travels pretty well. Now, this thing would travel better, of course. It's much smaller. I don't need to bring along a big PlayStation 4 unit because I have the Pro, but this is not going to have the same level of games that a PlayStation VR can do. It's going to still be a little bit lower level in terms of that technology, but this is important. We do need to get these devices out there. The Gear VR, I mean, people talk about how many millions of people have a Gear VR and that it's the most wide distributed VR solution that is out there, but still a lot of other people, they can't get their hands on it because they don't have that particular Samsung phone and they don't want to throw that kind of money at it. This is a good option for people that maybe are not gamers, but they still want to check out video things. They want to check out experience things where there might not be a whole lot of interaction, but they could do this perfectly fine with the Oculus Go headset. So that will be next year for $199.99. Okay, another news bulletin that came out yesterday was Oculus Dash. And so this is like the UI. So when we go into these headsets, whether it's Steam, whether it's the HTC Vive and you're going into Steam VR, or whether it's the Oculus Rift and you're going into Oculus Home, we basically have the UI interface, the user interface that we use to access our games, to do friend notifications, to check notifications, to search for things, to go to the store, all these kinds of things, right? Well, all of that was designed more with the controller in mind when it came to the Oculus Rift originally. It was designed with that face look, that little ball that would follow you around so you can hit the A button and select something. All that was designed around the Xbox controller that was packed in with the original Rift. Well, now we know that we've moved to a touch world, so it's time to upgrade all of that for touch. And that's what they've done here with Oculus Dash. If you look at it, it's kind of like this bar that's in front of you, and you can scroll along it, you can move along it. It's very Minority Report style in its way that it's going to be used. Now, excuse me. When exactly is Oculus Dash coming? So it's not available right now. I think this is coming in maybe November or December. I know that, well, they also have Oculus Home, and I think Oculus Home is in beta. The beta is in December. I'm not sure if Oculus Dash is coming earlier, but we do have Oculus Dash. This does make sense to have a new style of interacting with the UI and being able to change settings, being able to go to different games, being able to check notifications. The biggest news really with this Oculus Dash is the fact that it will even run in your game experience. You can bring this up at any time, and that is really amazing to be able to do that. So you can actually be in a game like Arctica 1, and you could bring up the Oculus Dash and check notifications or switch to another game and stuff like that. And that's really cool. That really is nice. Also, it gives you the opportunity to take web pages and pin them in your experience in different little spots, so you can have a little YouTube page running over here. A lot of people do that. I believe it's OVR Drop. It's this third-party program that people use. I know Gary uses it. Like if he's playing Elite Dangerous or something, he will be in his spaceship, but he'll bring up a little YouTube window and he'll have a YouTube thing playing while he's in his spaceship doing his spaceship things. And that's the sort of thing that Oculus Dash is going to bring to the table. But the hope is, see, when you use something like OVR Drop, there is a performance hit that happens. And so the hope is that because this is integrated at that base level of the code, that hopefully the performance hit will be very minor. So we'll have to see how that plays out. It's not available right now, so we can't utilize it right now, but it is coming soon, and it will be very exciting to check out how well Oculus Dash works. Right there, related to the Oculus Dash news, of course, is Oculus Home 2.0. And I can tell you personally, since I've had an Oculus Rift, and when I've gotten into Oculus Home, you're standing there and you see this fireplace that is over there, and it's crackling, and the fire is going, and you look behind you and you see these pictures on the wall, and you see this nice stuff. And I'm like, dude, why can't I teleport over there? Why can't I go everywhere around this room and look around this room? But you're basically stuck in this one spot. You see your games, you see the menu and stuff, and you can't go anywhere. Well, Oculus Home 2.0 is going to change all of that. Now what they're going to do is you can create your own living spaces. You can create your own private room. You can put things in different spots. They showed a video of it, of some different people using it, and this guy had like a little tree with some little birds on it, and it showed him like holding his finger out for the bird to land on his finger, and little things like that. And so you'll be able to create custom spaces and kind of design it in such a way where it'll have a little bit more of a personal flavor. You'll be able to move around the home, which is a good idea as well. I kind of wonder if the Cliff House for Microsoft, Microsoft's Cliff House thing where you can pin things to different walls and you set up your space kind of like that. I wonder if that kind of gave them a little kick in the ass, so to speak, to get something like Home designed in this sort of way. One worry that some people have, though, is they think one worry that some people have is they believe that microtransactions could come into play with this. For example, like you could have a standard sofa, but if you want a very specific design on your sofa, maybe you pay 50 cents, 99 cents, something like that. Could microtransactions come into play with something like this? That's always possible. Me personally, I don't really get that into this sort of thing. Like, I'll screw around with it for a day or two, but honestly, I want to get the headset on and I just want to get my game running. So a lot of this is kind of lost on me, but it is cool. It'll be cool to experiment with. It'll be cool to play around with and see what we can do. I did want to teleport around and look at the fireplace and stuff like that. So hopefully that will be possible with Oculus Home 2.0, and the beta is coming in December, so we don't have to wait extremely long for that. Okay, let's see, what else do we got? Okay, continuing with the Oculus Connect 4, the Oculus Santa Cruz developer kits are going out this November. So yeah, so Oculus is in a weird spot here because they've got so many little headsets that they're dealing with. They got the regular Gear VR, and apparently their partnership with Samsung on the Gear VR is continuing forward. There's no change there, so they still have the Gear VR as one of their major platforms. Now they have the Oculus Go at $199 coming next year. Then, of course, they have the Oculus Rift now in the $399 package. And now we have this new thing. Well, it's not new. It's actually been around for a while, but it's the Santa Cruz. It's this new prototype headset. Now, the difference between the Santa Cruz, because a lot of people are wondering, what's the difference between the Santa Cruz and the Oculus Go? Aren't these very similar things? Well, I believe the difference is, first of all, it has a more powerful processor. I'm pretty sure that both of the processor that's in the Oculus Go and the processor that is in the Santa Cruz, I believe they're both made by Qualcomm. I believe they're both Snapdragon processors, but the one that is in Santa Cruz is a more advanced, more high-end processor that is capable of doing more things. The other difference between the two is the Oculus one, I mean the Oculus Go, remember that controller is similar to a Daydream controller or a Gear VR controller. It's not 6 degrees of freedom. Now, the controllers that come with the Santa Cruz prototype, they are 6 degrees of freedom, and these controllers have been completely redesigned. They're different. They look different. The ring is up here instead of wrapping around your hand like that, so it's a new design. It's that I almost tend to think this could be CV2. You know, maybe this is CV2 and we just don't know it yet. Or could this be almost like a different category where it's that standalone, like an Oculus Go, but a higher end version of Oculus Go? Whatever the case, developers will get dev kits this November. And so this is a product that is probably going to be hitting retail, I guess, in the second half of 2018 next year. So we're going to have to see what Oculus does to kind of differentiate all these little headsets and kind of understand the roadmap that they're preparing here. I'll be honest with you guys, I've been busy on a lot of stuff, so I haven't been able to read every little thing about all of this, so maybe some of this stuff has been spelled out already. And on the VR Roundtable episode, our next episode that we'll be recording this weekend, there'll probably be more discussion there, and maybe I'll have had some time to read some more of this stuff and have a better take on that. But I don't know. When it comes to all these different headsets, it is kind of confusing to see, you know, what is their long-term vision. I definitely understand that the Oculus Go is that low-end entry point that they want for the mass market consumers. They're talking about they want to put 1 billion people into VR, and they think something like the Oculus Go can help take us to that sort of situation. So I understand the Oculus Go. I understand the Rift. I understand Gear VR because that's the partnership that they already had in place. It's the Santa Cruz headset that doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense to me, because the problem with the Santa Cruz headset, I don't believe it's going to be powerful enough to run something like an Arctica 1. So what's the point? You know, so I don't understand exactly how all that is going to work, but I'm sure we'll find out more about that as the months roll on. Okay, so what other news came out of Oculus Connect 4? Game announcements. So we kind of thought that we might get some big time game announcements. I said, you know, maybe we'll hear about one big banger, similar to like a Lone Echo, similar to an Arctica 1, or similar to the Marvel's Powers United VR that was announced a while back. I thought maybe we'd get one really big game. Well, we did get one major announcement. Respawn Entertainment, makers of Titanfall. Remember, those were the guys that did the original Call of Duty games back in the days, and then the whole major breakup happened, and then Respawn Entertainment got started, and they were doing Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2. So Respawn Entertainment, they're working on a Star Wars game, by the way, but this is not related to this. It's not a Star Wars property. It's not a Titanfall property, but Respawn Entertainment is working with Oculus on a new game. Now, some people have said, who cares, because this game is like 2 years away. So this really is non-news because we don't know what the game is. We don't have a screenshot. We don't have a video. And it's probably 2 years away. So why get too excited about it? I understand that, you know, and that does make some sense. If this really is 2 years away, like if we're going to be playing this game in like late 2019, is it something to get super hyped on right now? Probably not, but it is good to hear that Oculus is still spending some big money and they're still getting some major talented developers, because one of the things I've kind of worried about in the back of my mind a little bit, you remember when Oculus said, you know, we're taking $250 million and we're putting it into all this stuff. Well, that $250 million, if that was the right amount, or maybe it was half a billion, maybe, I don't know. But whatever amount they had that they were talking about back then, they've spent a lot of that. A lot of that has gone to Ready at Dawn. A lot of that has gone to 4A Games. A lot of that has gone to In Exile Entertainment, Epic Games, all these major big primetime VR games that we've gotten where Oculus just keeps hitting it. Tripwire Interactive with Killing Floor, Incursion. They're giving all that money to all these different developers. And my worry is, well, when this big pile of money runs out, then what? Is Oculus going to be like, well, we did our part, but now we're backing off? Because I really think they need to continue this. And so at least with Respawn Entertainment working on something, at least we know we got one more really big one coming. We know, of course, about Marvel's Powers United VR, which is being developed by Sanzaro Games, but they're using that Robo Recall game engine from Epic Games. And so it'll be interesting to see, will we continue to see these big major games coming from Oculus? Because eventually the well is going to run dry and Facebook will have to make a decision. Do we continue to pour money into this area, or do we kind of back off and just let third parties take over? Now, hopefully, I'm pretty sure Oculus, their original thought process was, we'll carry the load for now, and hopefully as we're carrying the load, then all the regular third parties will finally get aboard, and then their games will start trickling in, and then we can fade away, and then we can let the third parties kind of take over. And that's kind of been the situation if you think about it. I mean, on November 14th, we've got Rockstar Games with L.A. Noire, the VR case files. That game is coming out. We got Fallout 4 VR, now technically not for the Oculus Rift, but I'm sure Oculus Rift gamers will be able to play that. Same thing with the Doom VFR. Same thing with, Talos Principle. We've got a lot of bigger games now that are starting to come to VR from major third-party developers. More people are starting to get involved in this thing. So I think all of this is really good news. And so hopefully if they do scale back their funding for major games, hopefully these third parties kind of pick up that pace and take that over. And we'll have to see how that plays out. Speaking of November 14th, we did find out yesterday that From Other Suns has been dated for November 14th. So on that same day, we're going to have two major games. From Other Suns by Gunfire Games, which if you've tried the beta, that game is very impressive and that game has a lot going for it. And then of course Rockstar with the L.A. Noire, the VR case files. I mean, that's going to be a big time game. I can tell you guys from experiencing the Invisible Hours and experiencing what it's like to have these characters walk around and they're talking and they're acting in front of you, and you feel like you're standing in that room. You feel like you're a participant there. Actually, you really feel like you're a ghost. The Invisible Hours, I can tell you, that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg and Demi Moore and stuff, that old movie from, I don't know, was it the early 90s or whatever? But that movie Ghost, in that movie, Patrick Swayze, he gets murdered, right? And so, but during a lot of the movie, he's there as a ghost, but he's just kind of standing there and he's talking to Whoopi Goldberg, who is able to talk to the dead. But he'll be there and people will walk right through him, and he kind of feels weird, when people walk, they walk right through him because he's not there. He's a ghost. And in the Invisible Hours VR, I've been playing this on PlayStation VR. VR Game Rankings got a PlayStation VR code from Tequila Works. I did reach out to them and they did give me a code, so that was really cool. Thanks much to Tequila Works. I'm checking this game out. I don't have a review for it. I will write an article about it later today. That's absolutely going to happen. I wanted to play it a little bit more, but man, I'm really engrossed in this experience. Now, I don't know that I would call it a game. I almost would call it the first VR movie that we've ever seen. But what I'm trying to say here is that being in that world and having these characters move around and acting, and you're right there, I could see L.A. Noire, the VR case files, being absolutely incredible, because based on what I've seen with the Invisible Hours, that could translate absolutely perfectly. And L.A. Noire, you're talking about, these aren't cartoon characters. These characters look more like full motion video almost. And so that's going to be really interesting to see that in a first-person mode. So I don't know if you'll be able to transfer around and view it from different angles in the way you're able to do it with the Invisible Hour. but it is still going to be very curious. And November 14th, 2 bangers on the same day. And we're starting to see that more and more with VR gaming, where there's only so many Tuesdays and big games have to come out, and big games are battling each other on the same day in VR. We didn't have that last year. Last year, we didn't have that many big games where on a specific day you'd have 3 big games that you had to decide between. And this is a good thing. This gets us closer to regular flat gaming and to the regular normalcy of flat gaming, where there's so many big games all the time, and that's just normal. So we're starting to head in that direction, and that is absolutely exciting. Speaking of exciting, this is probably going to be the last story of the day. Well, actually, let me just tell you before I get into the Windlands 2 trailer, because Windlands 2 was announced basically yesterday. We saw a trailer for Windlands 2. But I also want to mention The Mage's Tale. The Mage's Tale is half price. This is a $40 game, but the price has been chopped in half temporarily. It's on sale for $19.99. And I'll tell you personally, man, The Mage's Tale is easily one of the best VR games of 2017, in my opinion. If you like Vanishing Realms, if you like Carnage Chronicles, Carnage Chronicles. If you like those 2 games, The Mage's Tale is right there. Now, in some ways, it's better. In some ways, it's worse. But it's like a 6, 7, 8, 9 hour game to go through The Mage's Tale. It's not a short, super brief experience. This is a real deal game. To get this for $19.99 is an absolute steal. So if you have not purchased The Mage's Tale yet, jump on that, because it's absolutely well worth it. Now, back to Windlands 2. I can tell you that Windlands was, I believe, a launch game for the Vive, or maybe it came very shortly after the launch of the HTC Vive. But Windlands has been one of my favorite VR games for a long time. There's just something magical about that world. It just feels so good. You're swinging through the air. You're moving at incredible speeds. I remember people telling me about Windlands that it's Barf City, and I was scared of the game. And actually, a buddy of mine, Justin, a MAME fan on Reddit, he actually gifted me Windlands, and because he found out I was in some other experience where I didn't have motion sickness, and he's like, dude, if you don't have motion sickness, you got to try Windlands. And he gifted me the game Windlands, and I fell in love with this game. I'm loving it. Windlands is awesome, and I'm having so much fun in Windlands. And so Windlands 2 looks really cool. It's got multiplayer, it's got cooperative play, and so the graphics look a little bit different, but I'm assuming it's being developed by basically the same developer, SciTech Games. I'm assuming they're using basically the same game engine. The trailer did look a little weird. It looked a little different to me from the original Windlands game, but I'm assuming it's the same developer. I'm assuming it's the same game engine. And as long as that's the case, I'm sure Windlands 2 is going to be fantastic. Now, we did not get any release date whatsoever, so this is probably sometime in 2018. And basically, they're just trying to whet our appetite and let us know, hey, Windlands 2 is coming, so look forward to that. Okay, guys, so we're past the 30-minute mark, and had a lot of stuff to talk about today. Man, I didn't even get to Arctica 1. How crazy is that? I'll tell you real quick, I continue to play Arctica 1, and you know what I'll say about Arctica 1? Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this game is $30, and it's a freaking Michael Bay experience. The farther I get into this game, despite all of its flaws, and it does have legitimate flaws, but despite all of that, this is an absolute must play, okay? The graphics are incredible. The environments are awesome. You're there. It's action-packed. You feel like you're in a movie. You really feel like you're in an action-adventure movie. And what more can we ask for? That's what we want. Now it does, I mean, the node-based movement is so irritating, it really is, but don't let that steer you away from this game. We're not overflowing with incredible games like this, and Arctica 1 is incredible. The more I play it, the more I'm impressed with it. The node-based movement continues to piss me off, but that's okay. This game is too good. You've got to play Arctica 1, bottom line. Okay, guys, so almost at the 35-minute mark, so I'm definitely past my time here, so I need to check out of here. But I will see you guys on Friday. This has been episode 9 of the VR Game Rankings Daily Vlog for October 12th, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.